Bert! What's up, man? How's it going? How's your day today?
Oh man, it was a tough day. It was tough. I feel like every week is like, oh, it's slow. It's going to get better next week. Like, yes. And then it doesn't. It's worse. Like
Sheesh.
yesterday, I sat around for most of the day and did a big job at the end of the day, finished it most up and finished it this morning. It's like a 13-hour job. I was like, cool, right? It's going to be a good day. Didn't work on another car after that. So literally sat around from about 9 o'clock till about 3. So that was a sad day for me.
And you dipped out at 3 and you said, yeah, I'm gone.
Yeah, no, I definitely did. I dipped out at 3 and I was like, yeah, I'm out of here. I've already wasted all my day. Like I'm not gonna waste any more time. We get home to the kids, get home and live my life outside of the dealership.
Dang,
What about
bro.
you?
9 to 6, nothing. I mean, 9 to 3, nothing. That's tough. Today was actually ended up being like a decent day for me. I did forget, bro. I forgot something on the customer's car, bro. It's so sad, bro. It's so sad, bro.
What'd
I
you
was
forget?
doing I was doing a brake line recall, bro. And I be using I don't like my brake lines leaking, so I be using pliers, cut off, yeah, stop pliers to kind of stop the brake fluid from leaking past a certain point. And
Like
brother,
a like a vice
hose
grips?
hose clamp pliers, just to keep them right there and just let them
When you
go
left
and
them
then
on the
stay
customer.
locked. Bro, I left them on the customer's car, because I did a recall. I did the same recall after that, and I'm like, "Where are my pliers?"
Did you
And
get
I'm
them?
like, "No, bro. We called the customer. We called the customer. The customer already he's an hour away." And then I'm like, "Bro, can we go get somewhere to? Can we go get someone to get them?" And then the customer's like, "No, I'm gonna just come back tomorrow. I'm having a brake issue as well." I'm like, "Bro, you having a brake issue because the thing on the?" I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "Bro, I don't know
Bro, you
how."
better did you tell the customer to take those pliers off? Or they're still on there?
I think they're still on there.
I mean, I've done that, but usually I catch it before it leaves. I hope everything goes all right. We don't need any oopsies on the old customer coming back in on that one.
That's why I'm like, bro, oh, that was the only bad thing today, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Work was smooth. I had 14 hours. Did a bunch of recall work. Two customer states. They were easy. They were nothing. And then I had spark. I had one 6 hour ticket with spark plugs on a 21 Highlander with a couple other things. I mean, today was chill. 14 hours. My apprentice, I think he got 12 hours. So can't ask for more than that, man.
Just
I'm happy
casual,
with
man.
that.
Just casual. It was so casual. You were able to get off in time. To come home a little bit early to prepare for today's episode. We got another Toyota tech MDT coming on today.
Yes,
Um,
we do.
he's got a few years on us. He's got maybe he's been working on cars longer than we've been around here, myself included.
Yes. Yes. Times two for me. Times two and a half for me, actually. Um, I checked on his LinkedIn. He has a he started taking his ASCs in 1977, and at that point, I was not even a thought or a glimpse. So
Yeah,
I got to
same
give
here.
respect
I
to him.
mean,
I got to thank him for his service on this episode.
well, speaking of that, his name is Mr. Wayne Bridges. He's going to be joining us today and talk about a little bit about his experience. All the way from 77 and all the way up till 2025. Starting his career out as a Chevrolet technician, how he started at Toyota, and how he's helping technicians grow and develop today. I think we could all probably take a page out of his book on the way that technicians need to be growing inside of a dealership and inside of a shop, and not just sucking the life out of these young techs. Just getting every penny you can out of them. So
Exactly. I hope he explains and goes into depth on how his training is in that dealership, and how that kind of came, and like how's it even going on? Like, because I don't hear about this. No one hears about this stuff. In-house training, in dealer training. So I really hope he goes in depth with it. So I'm really looking forward towards it.
Well, me too. So let's jump on in.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Way the Technician podcast. You already know we got the best hosts in the world, me and Curtis. It is what it is, and it has been what it has been, and it will continue to be what it is. And we have a wonderful, splendid guest right above us, Wayne Bridges, the Director of Technician Training at the well-respected dealer of Toyota of Puyallup. Thank you very much for coming on, Wayne. We appreciate you. We appreciate the 51 years you've been in this industry that has had its ups and downs.
Well, I'm glad to be here. It's a real honor to be on your show. So looking forward to having a really good chat.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited to have someone on who, has that deep roots in the industry and can talk about things like anything from flat rate to life as a technician before the average technician these days. And so we're really excited to kind of tear your mind apart a little bit and see what goes on in the mind of Mr. Wayne himself.
I'm going to go ahead and split it open with the X-All and go ahead and ask you, sorry to interrupt, but go ahead and ask you, what were you doing in 1977? Because I just saw you were ASE Master Technician in 1977, and I was just like...
Yeah, I actually wasn't an ASE Master Technician yet in 1977, but that's when I got my first ASE certification. I was an apprentice technician at a Chevrolet dealership. It was a fulfillment of a dream. I decided when I was 10 years old I wanted to work on cars, and my dream was to work at a Chevrolet dealership. And I went to vocational school, started in my senior year in high school, then completed as an adult, and got hired right on as a full technician at the Chevrolet dealership in 1977, and then started that journey through ASEs, and so I've been ASE certified since 1977.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get through some of those tests and certifications?
Well, I don't know. I've always been a really good test taker. It's an industry that I really love. So, when I graduated from vocational school, I graduated top in my class. I have never failed an ASE test ever.
Wow.
So I've taken a lot of them. I remember the first time I took the L1 test, I went in a little nervous, because, especially when it first came out, 50% of the people that took it would fail the first try. My first try, I got a 97% on the test. So,
holy cow.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I'm a good test taker, but I also know what I'm doing too. So, yeah.
Dang, shame on me. I failed it the first time I took it.
Well, it's not because I'm smarter than you, but I'm a really good test taker. So and that's one of those things I would remind my students when I was teaching automotive, was that, some people are really good at taking tests and some aren't. And I tell the technicians I've got now, whether you pass with an 80% or 100%, you get the same certificate. So, the bottom line is, can you actually diagnose and fix a car? It doesn't matter. Well, what you do on it with a paper and pencil is important. Those tests are important, but can you produce out in the shop? Can you diagnose that car accurately? That's the important part.
Do you feel like those tests have gotten are they harder maybe then versus now? Have they evolved from when you first started until they're now? Do you feel like they're better, worse? Kind of, what's your input on that since you've been taking them for a little bit longer? I think, I don't know if they've evolved quite enough.
but they definitely, I think they've gotten better. They've done a fairly good job of staying with technology. Um, you know, it's tough, you know, because there's still questions on there on how to read a vacuum gauge, and you know, even since I've been in the industry, we haven't really used a vacuum gauge much. I know how to do it. I've done it, but you know, maybe it's time for some of those questions to get purged out, and maybe we use you know, a transducer and a picoscope to do that kind of stuff now. You know, so.
Yeah, some more up-to-date tools.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you know, and you know, there's a lot of people, you know, out there bad mouthing ASE right now, because, you know, we've all worked with that, you know, ASE master certified tech that can't diagnose and can't fix a car, you know, because they don't have the hand skills that go with it and stuff. But I think it's still a very valid assessment tool. I think it's still really important for our industry. You know, it would be really nice if we had licensing in this industry to help get some of those people out of the industry that probably shouldn't be working on cars. But we would need something more comprehensive than just a, you know, multiple choice test to do that. It's going to need to be something more hands-on, where you actually go and show some skill and stuff like that. But for now, I still think ASE is valid. I think maybe we could do something to improve it with some type of hands-on stuff.
No, yeah, we definitely could do a lot of hands-on stuff to kind of improve that. I wouldn't mind that at all. If like, I mean, if they had like a specific training site, after you take ASC, you apply some hands-on stuff, and then you pass with a score that's kind of mixed between the two. That would be cool.
Yeah, and you know, especially like training programs, you know, there's been, you know, some knocking of training programs that are ASE certified training programs. And, you know, I taught one for 29 years. We were an ASE master certified training program at the college that I taught at. And I think it was a very valid certification for our program, because there were hands-on competencies that the students had to complete. So if the school and the instructors are following the ASE format and ensuring that those students are actually doing the hands-on work and completing those competencies that go along with that, you know, that program, they're getting that hands-on experience. So, of course, it's not going to be at the same level as someone that's been wrenching for, you know, 10 or 15 years, but they've actually performed the job. And, you know, that's important. You know, I always made sure that my students could actually do the job with little or no assistance from me. And if they couldn't, with just maybe a tiny bit of coaching, they couldn't get it. They didn't get that competency marked off until they could. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing. But for the technician level certification, right now all we have is that I'm going to say paper and pencil test, because that's what it was when I first started taking them. But that multiple choice test doesn't really assess your skill level. It assesses what's in your head, but not necessarily what comes out your fingertips.
Yeah, it's almost like for the master diagnostic test, do y'all have to do a hands-on course to get that certification for Toyota?
Yeah, for MDT, yeah, there's a number of instructor-led trainings that you have to go through, and you have to perform hands-on, and hopefully all the training programs that are out there are really serious about that. I know the ones in the Portland region here, I went through all of those tests. I've only been with Toyota for 3.5 years, but I am, Toyota Master Diagnostic Technician Certified, MDT certified. And so I had to go through all of those, face-to-face hands-on classes. and they put me through the mill, having to do all of that. And I'll tell you, it was a bit of a struggle for me because I had been out of the industry for 29 years. I taught for 29 years, so I hadn't, other than, every few years I'd go back and hang out for a week at some shop, and wrench a little bit. But I was pretty rusty, and it put me through my paces, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. You mentioned teaching, and I know you said that you're doing a technical director now. Can you tell us a little bit about that program, what that looks like, and some of the steps you're taking with the students that you have?
Sure. So I'll give you a little bit of background of how I came to be at this dealership as well. I was actually I had helped, after I retired from teaching, I helped build an apprenticeship program, national accredited apprenticeship program in the state of Washington here. But it was mainly for independent repair shops. And Toyota of Puyallup contacted me about bringing that apprenticeship program in here because they really, their whole focus is on helping their technicians become better technicians, getting the training and stuff like that. So they wanted to bring me in, my apprenticeship program in here. But it was only for independent repair shops. There's always been that turf war between independents and new car dealers. They don't like to play in the same, sandbox. So I told them about the program, but I told them, sorry, I can't partner with you. Well, about a week and a half later, the owner contacted me with the idea of having an in-house trainer right here at Toyota of Puyallup. And I thought, this is exactly what the industry needs. Someone on staff to train those technicians on what they need, assessing their needs and helping, provide that. And so they brought me on board, and we've been building this thing together. And it's a pretty special thing. I build entry-level, training for our, especially our lube techs. Most of our, TXM or express maintenance people are people we've hired off the street. Some of them have come out of, training programs, but most of them are just off the street. And, we, after about 90 days, we assess, and if it looks like they, are really interested, they want to be in the industry and stuff, then we put them through a training program. And so I get these, TXM techs an hour a day. They get to come up here with me for an hour's worth of lecture. They're on the clock, so they're paid while they're sitting in the classroom, listening to my melodious voice, teach them the theory of automobiles. And we try to have some practical application. I taught a brake class here, a few months ago, and, took them through all the brake theory of coefficient of friction and all of that kind of stuff. And then we went down and we did some hands-on stuff too. I don't get the technicians all at one time. I can't take the whole, Lubrac, staff at one time, but I get them 2 or 3 at a time. I put them through some training, and then we bring the next batch in and we get everybody done. And once we complete a section, then we move on to the next section. I did brakes, then I did suspension and steering. And right now we're doing a basic electrical class. So that's what we do for our entry-level techs. And then for our main shop techs, I work with the main shop techs to help them get ASE certified. So I actually put on ASE training classes. We figure out who needs a particular training. And so I had a bunch of technicians that wanted to get their A6 electrical certification. So I put together a 12-week-long class and took them right through from Ohm's law, calculating series parallel circuits and all of that kind of stuff, calculating it, the dealership actually bought me some electrical trainers, 6 electrical trainers. So, I'll put a circuit up on the board. They do the math and they see, what the total circuit resistance is. They calculate how much current is flowing in there. They calculate the voltage drops on those circuits. They do the math and do that. And then we build the circuit and we measure it and, qualify what they, actually saw up when they were doing their math and stuff. They actually get to measure that circuit and see, here's how much resistance we really have. Here's how much amperage is really flowing in the circuit. This is how much that resistor used up before it got over to this other thing. And it's pretty cool that, I work at a dealership that, that allows that kind of training to happen right here. With those technicians, and it gets them, and then we go right through, the whole thing and get them prepped for that ASE test. I have all the different areas blocked out, and we, get training in all those areas, getting them ready to take that ASE test. And so I've got 4 guys downstairs that are getting ready to sign up to see how they do on their A6 test. So we'll see what happens.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. I mean, first of all, a dealer that does in-house training is insane. Like, how big is this dealer? Is this like how many bays does this dealer have?
Well, we're not a huge dealer, but we have 6 express maintenance bays with 22 techs, and then we have, I think we have 10 or 12 main shop techs. We crank about 120 cars a day through the express maintenance, and we probably get.
Oh no!
No.
Wayne, your audio cut out again.
No.
Your audio cut out again. We're not
Sadly, we did not get any of that because the audio cut out. Gosh darn it.
That's all right.
Well, guys, regardless, that is crazy information. I mean, what dealer brings in a in-house technical trainer to train an entire shop? Dude, I wish my dealer did that. That'd be amazing.
It's
I'm just gonna continue on ranting until his microphone comes back on. But
yeah, I don't know what
let me just
microphone. It's like it's Wayne, your microphone cut out again, but it's like a technical school inside of a dealership. It's like kind of like that program I was telling you I learned about through Ford, where they basically train your technicians in-house, not just on how to be a technician, but on the technical side of things as well. And so it gives them that extra experience to learn not only the Toyota car, but to learn how the dealership works and operates. How Wayne and the company wants to train those technicians up, and they learn that information. They learn electrical circuits. I'm sure they break down all the engine, basic engine diagnosis, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that dealer has to love technical, like having their technicians trained and certified, because that's the first deal I've ever heard of even kind of doing that stuff. And I mean, that's a blessing in itself. Like, that's a pleasure for everybody to kind of work there. I bet that's a great learning environment for everybody. Everybody's like having friendly competitions on trying to see who can get the most ASEs in a certain time frame and who can, reach master status. I mean, shoot, my shop has developed that same competition level, but without like an in-house trainer, which is like so cool, bro. Like, I never heard anything about that. He might have to reboot the computer again. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, you might have to reboot the old computer there, Mr. Wayne. I'm not sure what happened with the microphone.
It's Windows.
I wonder, is it like plugged in the back? Like, not sounds so silly, but like maybe the movement of the laptop came loose on the microphone. I don't know. If you want to try resetting it and going from there, we can pick right back up whenever you get back in here.
Am I back?
Yes, sir. We're back. Not sure what happened there, but
yeah,
that's
I don't
all
know. And I don't have an external mic, plugged into it. I'm just using the mic and the camera from the laptop. But this might be the last time I use this laptop. So
Might have learned it. Might have
anyway,
lived its life after this one.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. So I don't know.
We were just
I don't know where you quit hearing me talk, but it's pretty amazing that I'm giving basically college level classes here at the dealership. So
we were
pretty
kind of
special.
talking. We were kind of talking when you were gone that it's we talk a lot about like being financially smart as a technician, and the fact that your dealership offers basically a technical school, hands-on training, and all the courses you need to be a successful technician, all while being at the dealership. I mean, just imagine how many thousands of dollars you're saving these technicians from going to technical school and spending all that money on things that they can learn in real time, which as technicians, we all know that we learn better by doing. So
Right. That's exactly true. And I was actually talking to a young man this week, actually a friend of our general manager, actually a son of a friend of our general manager, because he's thinking about getting in the automotive industry, thinking about going to school. And so he had him come in here and talk to me about the different options of different types of schools, and the fact that maybe he doesn't need to go to school. Maybe he just needs to come to work here, and we'll get him trained up right here. Is he going to get a college certificate from us? No, he's not. But he's going to get trained up like he's in college, and he's going to have no expense. As a matter of fact, he's going to get paid while he's getting trained, which is a pretty cool thing. And we'll get him through all that Toyota training as well, because that's one of the things I help all the techs do is do their online training. I kind of coach them through it if they're struggling. I always make them take those modules by themselves first, but if they're struggling, then I'll come on board next to them and kind of help coach them, but not give them the answer, but help them find that answer. So pretty unique, pretty special thing we got going on here.
yeah, it's exciting to hear about. It's exciting to hear about. There's more dealerships need to have programs like that, or at least offer them where they're doing some of those, growth and development programs internal of the dealership to such a significant level where they need someone like yourself to get in there and make sure that technicians are learning the right material that tests those technicians and push them, to test themselves, and all, like you said, all in house. And not every technical school offers college certificates anyways. So, I mean, they're probably learning more, saving money, all while doing it through your dealership.
Yeah. It's definitely a win-win for them. So, and it is for us too. And one of the reasons I'm here is because I was so impressed with this dealership's their desire to take care of their people. And one of the problems with our dealership is we don't have a lot of turnover either. So we got these young guys coming in, and we're training them up, but someone has to leave for them to have a space to come into the main shop right now, and that doesn't happen very often. But we do still try to promote them, and we have tried to expand a little bit. We have another facility down the street that we're starting to move people into because we can't expand our footprint where we're at. But we have technicians. Jim, he's one of the best technicians I've ever worked with. He has worked for. Did I go dead again?
No, you're good. You're good.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because my screen went black for a bit and I had a lightning bolt. So anyway, Jim has worked at this dealership for 41 years. He's a technician, been here 41 years. Okay. Rick Jones has been here 37 years. Lucas Henson has been here 37 years. Okay. People come and they stay because they're taken care of. A lot of the things we talk about on LinkedIn, we take care of our people and they don't want to leave. Okay. But we know they're going to age out at some point. you know, and so we're trying to prep those guys that are going to come in and take their place, and have them ready to you know, take that guy that's getting too long in the tooth. And the other thing that's pretty cool about our dealership is these old timers, they're willing to share their knowledge, which is pretty incredible because our technicians are flat rate, okay, but they are still willing to take time with those young techs, even though it costs them money, because they don't get compensated for, you know, helping that young tech, but we do a really good job of taking care of them anyway, and they're willing to give back, and that's pretty cool. You know, pretty unique as far as I can tell, especially in a flat rate situation.
Yeah, don't really have a technician shortage problem. You got a shortage of bays problem.
Yeah, shortage of bays problem, and we're going to have to buy a bigger piece of dirt to take care of that, because we don't have dirt to expand on. So, and that's going to be a few years down the road, because that's expensive. But we'll do what we can in the meantime. These young techs that are getting trained here, if we don't have a spot for them, they're only going to want to be a lube tech for so long. And and if they need to move on, we're gonna be okay with that. We're gonna send them off with our blessings. If we can't give them what they need, we'll help them on their way, and we'll give them that good referral and stuff like that. If they've treated us good, we're going to treat them good. We have one of our young techs that we don't have room to put him into the main shop yet. So he's leaving to go work for Tesla, and he's been a great tech. We hate to, but we understand that he's got to do what he's got to do. We wish we could keep him, but we don't have any place to put him right now. So.
Yeah, you mentioned flat rate in there, and Jay was just telling me that you got some pretty strong opinions about that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of flat rate. The guys here, our top guys, they're knocking down, $100,000 to $150,000 a year, but I'm not a big fan of flat rate because it's pretty stressful. I was a technician for 17 years, and I only worked flat rate 1 year in my whole career. I was always hourly. But I was one of those guys driven to produce too. So I always produced 12 or 14 hours in an 8-hour day typically, but I only got paid for 8 hours. So I could have made a lot of money as a flat rate tech, but the couple of problems with flat rate, especially putting young techs on flat rate too early, that it kills them. They can't make money. One of the things that really frustrated me, and one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing now, was because I had so many good techs over the years that that I sent out to a shop, and they got hired on. They got promised these big dollars, hourly, paychecks, but they got thrown on flat rate immediately out of school, and they couldn't produce, and so they were basically starving, and they'd make it 2 or 3 years and left the industry, and it really frustrated me. And that's part of the reason why I retired, and I'm doing what I'm doing now, is to give them that support that they need out there. And I've got our service manager. I've got him convinced that we can't be putting these guys on flat rate too soon. If we're going to be a flat rate shop, let's wean them to that flat rate. Let's keep them hourly for a while. Let's start giving them some productivity bonuses as they get more productive. And then if we go to flat rate, then let's do that. But I'm actively trying to convince the dealership to switch over to, hourly with, production incentives, a production bonus kind of thing. I think that's the way to go in this industry, because we need them to be productive. Because I worked in hourly shops, and like I told you, I cranked out 12 to 14 hours a day. But Bubba over in the corner there, he was a lazy slob and would only, crank out 5 or 6 hours in a day, and he got the same paycheck that I did. I had a 3% comeback rate, and he had a 18% comeback rate, and we got the same paycheck. And so you need that, some type of a carrot to incentivize that production and to reward that productivity. So. Yeah. So I do. I got pretty strong opinions about flat rate. I'd like to see it go away.
Yeah,
But,
I'd seen your 4 points on LinkedIn about deceptive recruiting practices as well as unreasonable warranty times, which I completely agree with that one. Like, warranty times are a little tough on us, and then little to no support on entry-level technicians, which you just stated that it is hard for an entry-level technician to be jumped on flat rate like so soon. Like, for me, thankfully, my dealer ended up putting me on a 3-month apprenticeship with a master technician with under 40 years. He had over 40 years under his belt. So, I was able to, kind of get through the ropes. And then at the end of that 3 months, they threw me in the water, but I had enough training to where my first week flat rate, I ended up flagging 51 hours in a 4-day work week, and I was fine to go. So it's just kind of how how well can you prep the technician for flat rate? Not about too much of the flat rate system itself. You have to prepare them, because if you don't, they're gonna sink, man. It's like throwing a little goldfish in a water full of sharks. I mean, the seasoned technicians are the sharks, and then the Luke tech is the goldfish, the little baby goldfish.
Chomp them right up.
Yeah, but I don't think 3 months with a seasoned technician is enough, because what are you going to learn? When they throw that that weird water leak on you, that is going to be tough to figure out, and warranty doesn't pay for it. You got that weird electrical diagnostic that's got to happen, and because you don't have 30 years of electrical experience under your belt, it takes you 3 hours to diagnose this problem, where a seasoned tech could do it in a half an hour, and warranty's only going to pay a half an hour anyway. So that's why I think there needs to be a longer apprenticeship, a longer time spent hourly. And kind of my idea is we start out at, I'm just going to throw numbers out here, nothing concrete or anything, but we start that entry level tech at $20 an hour, and and he gets paid for an 8-hour day. Okay. And as we see that he's starting to do better, we're able to give him more jobs and stuff like that. We bump him up to $25 an hour, but we keep him on hourly. Okay. And he only gets paid for those 8 hours, but we're giving him tougher jobs, and we're expanding his potential and his knowledge base and his ability. And then at some point, now we cut them loose, because they are now ready. Unless you want a guy that all they do is brakes and suspension work, that's one thing, but if you want that well-rounded tech, and I think most technicians want to be that well-rounded tech, you have to give them the opportunity to learn all of that stuff. And I know myself, when I was a technician, anytime I applied for a job at a shop, I would always tell them, if you pigeonhole me and stick me just doing one kind of work, I'm going to get bored, I'm going to get cranky, and then I'm probably going to leave. And fortunately, I was pretty good at pretty much everything on the automobile I could produce. And so, I didn't get stuck doing just brakes and suspension. I didn't get stuck just pulling trannies out and rebuilding them and stuff like that. I got a wide variety of stuff, but part of the reason I was able to do that was when I was coming up in the industry, I had an employer that challenged me to do all those things, allowed me to do all of those things. And when I came in the industry back in the late 70s, I had to go through a 4-year apprenticeship, where I every Tuesday night I had to go to class for 3 hours every Tuesday night for 4 years, and I had to track what I was doing in the shop. And, I had to keep a log of all the different things that I did, kind of like Toyota T10 has, when you're out in the shop for your, industry portion of it, you have to log all the different things that you did, and your supervisor has to sign off on it. Well, that's the kind of apprenticeship that I went through, and that's the kind of apprenticeship that I built, and that's kind of what we're doing here. Trying to, give that ability for that technician, that entry-level technician, to be successful and hopefully develop a passion for lifelong learning. Because if you don't have a passion for lifelong learning, you're going to become pretty obsolete pretty fast in the automotive industry. So I can tell you, it's changed a lot in the 51 years I've been in this business. When I first got into business, cars were just starting to getting computers on them, and you couldn't talk to them, and they weren't very smart. We still had carburetors and stuff like that, and we were still, changing diodes and alternators and things like that when I first got into business. It's a lot different now. Now we got over the air, reprogramming and stuff like that happening, and it's. I think it's the coolest time in the history of automobiles to be a technician. It's tough, but man, the stuff we get to work on, the stuff we get to work with is cool. It's really cool.
100%. How now? Do you have it like? How do you picture has like the automotive industry regressed or gotten better in like what ways do you think? I'm kind of wanted to pick your head about that since you've been in for, a respectful 51 years.
Yeah. Well, I think the automobile has definitely got better. They're safer, they're more efficient, they're faster. When I was in industry, if you had, 500 horsepower, you got 8 miles of the gallon if you were lucky. And the cars were not safe. Now we got cars, you can have 500 horsepower and you can get 32 miles a gallon because we're dropping cylinders and stuff like that. And the cars handle better, and they're safer. In a lot of ways, they're more challenging to work on. I think that the industry, from a technical and mechanical standpoint, has gotten better. From the technician side and the dealership management side, it hasn't changed much in 51 years, and that's not good.
Just from what you're saying,
there's definitely room for improvement.
Yeah, I was gonna say, from what you're saying, when you started, you got 4 years of apprenticeship. Now you're lucky guys. Most techs don't get 4 months. Seems like maybe some people have gotten a little lazy and have tried rushing those technicians in for a profit sooner rather than giving them the experience they need.
Right. And once again, I'm fortunate. I'm at a dealership that is bucking that system. And hopefully we get more. I think because of a lot of the stuff I've done on LinkedIn, a lot of the posts that I've done, I've been on a few other podcasts. Dealers reach out to me. I've got a dealer in Texas that I've sent all my stuff to help them set up a similar type program down in Texas. I've talked to one in North Carolina that has picked my brain. So I think we're starting to maybe turn that corner and finally figure out that if you want to keep your people, you got to take care of them. And it's a no-brainer, but I guess some people's brains took a little more time to accept that.
I think we're headed towards an industry shift where dealerships have pipeline programs set up for their technicians, similar to the one that you're talking about, and some other dealerships are starting on. And obviously, you just mentioned a few dealerships that are trying to ask you about it, and people are interested. I think they're just hesitant. They're unsure about how to do it, what becomes of it, and making sure that they're investing in it the right way. So they're helping their techs, not just
Right.
For themselves, but for the growing of the technicians too.
Right. And it's for the bean counters out there, when they look at my my paycheck on the spreadsheet, it's just a red line. I do not produce revenue for this dealership, but the owner feels like I am a worthwhile expense. And she keeps reminding me that, I don't physically produce labor and dollars for the dealership, but because I'm helping these technicians become better technicians, they're able to produce more. They make fewer mistakes because I'm out there in the shop with them, coaching them and stuff. It's she tells me I'm worth what they pay me. So, but it's convincing other, other dealers to do that, and bigger auto groups. There's a fairly large auto group in our area that actually hired a friend of mine. It's interesting. This guy and I were partners in vocational school when we were in high school. When we were in the automotive program, we were partners. And we both went into the industry and were successful. We both became teachers. And then he actually left the industry before I did. But we started a similar type training program at the same time. And the dealer group that he was with, that training program lasted 9 months, and they shelved it. And this dealership, I've been doing it for going on 4 years now. They've stuck with it, and helped develop it, and encouraged it, and feel like it's a worthwhile investment. So, but not all owners and managers are going to think that way. They just see that money going out. So.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, not everybody's gonna think that way. But I do wonder, like, do you also kind of train your technicians to understand and work flat rate the best way they can? Is that also something that y'all try to implement in them because they are gonna go into that system eventually?
Well, sure, and this gets back to just my personality. When I was an hourly tech, I was a high producer. I didn't have to produce that much, but I did. I was always looking for ways to do the job easier and faster, because I'm a really lazy guy. So I don't want to spend any more effort or any more time on something than I have to. So I'm gonna figure out those easier ways to do things without cheating the customer. I do stress that a lot. Let's find that way. And I love those young techs, and when they're struggling, so that they can see it's possible, but they get kind of frustrated because then they take it back apart and then they've got it themselves. They're not going to learn much if I do it for them. But I demonstrate that it's possible, or I demonstrate that here's a different way to think about it. And that's cool. And and that even applies to the main shop techs. I'll use Jim for an example again. Jim has been here 41 years as a Toyota master diagnostic technician, and I come in from outside, not being a Toyota tech, but I've helped him diagnose some things because I look at it from a different perspective than he did. I've shown him easier ways to do things that has changed the way he worked on cars for 41 years. It's that willingness to continue to learn.
Yeah, that's awesome, because it's Somewhere along the line, you mentioned that him, Jim, and then some of the older experienced techs they're helping out the young guys. And there's always been like this, I don't know where it even started, but people and, experienced technicians withholding information, withholding repair knowledge, withholding their tips and tricks because they were hesitant to share them with the younger guys. I'm glad to see the experienced techs in your shop helping the younger guys, because it's not like that everywhere. And we need to do more of that.
Yeah, just another question, last and final question for you, sir. It's how should a young and up and coming technician kind of attack ASE training and attack the chance to become a master tech, and also how should they also go about being a flat rate technician and kind of using everything to their advantage?
Okay, so we'll talk about the master tech part first. If we're talking about ASE master tech anyway, probably, if you're a Toyota tech, they want you to, pass your ASE electrical first. It's probably one of the hardest ASEs to pass, but taking one at a time is, for most people, unless you've been in the industry for a while, that's going to be the best way to do it. Take one test at a time. Get your ASE, guides that, the training books like from Motor or something like that, and study those things. Do as many tests you can possibly do, is going to be really important. And then just, those techs that are out there in the shop, pick their brains, because especially when we start talking about 4-gas analyzers and stuff like that on ASE tests, we don't do that anymore. We're looking at air fuel ratio and things like that. So you're going to have to pick those old techs' brains on how that works. We do that here, because we have an in-house trainer. I can help them with that stuff. But it's that will help you with that. So that will be really good as well. And then, just be perseverant, and knock them out, and, work your way up to that, that master level, get that L1, L3, those other ASEs. Understand that you're going to be a lifelong learner in this business. If you stop learning, you're going to be obsolete and you're going to get replaced. So that's really important. And then on the flat rate side, you need to learn to be more productive. Learning those, especially when you're doing the same job multiple times, which that happens a lot in a dealer situation. You're going to do a lot of repetitive type jobs, and you develop that way of doing it so that you're not wasting steps. I'm going to take you back to my early apprenticeship. I told you guys that I got hired right out of school, right as a technician. I was the first person that this service manager hired out of school to be a tech. He always put them on the lube rack first, but I came out of school with such high score, grades and recommendations that he tried me out. Well, 8 months later, probably the best thing that happened to me in my career, because when I got put on that lube rack, I learned how to work efficiently. I learned how to start at one point on the car, work my way around, and finish, and not bounce back and forth from one side to the next, from the front to the back, and things like that. I learned how to when I'm pulling an engine, I put it up in the air once, I put it down on the ground once, and then the engine comes out. That car shouldn't be going up multiple times, but that comes with time and experience. That's not something that you learn from a book. And really important to be patient in this, especially in the early years of being a technician. It takes a while. I was not that super fast, efficient technician when I came out of school. It took me years to become that. So be patient and leverage all of us old guys that are out there in the shop. And make sure, piece of advice when you come into a shop as a fresh out of school technician, don't go in there with a puffed out chest. You think
You got to tame that ego a little bit.
you don't know squat about cars yet. Go in cocky. Those old techs are going to let you die in a pile. To them, then they'll help you. So yeah.
That's absolutely true. Well, Mr. Wayne, we'll make it through this funny connection we got here, but we really appreciate you spending the time with us today and talking about your time as a technician, ASE tests, and the program that, I think more importantly, the program you're setting up through your current dealership and how important that is to set examples for how the rest of the industry should start doing things to build a pipeline, to invest in their technicians. And, those guys that's been there 30, 40 years, they're there for a reason. And that all starts with your dealership. That starts with people like yourself, the owner, and that ultimately is setting a really good example for so many people out there. So we really appreciate it. Keep up the hard work and keep doing what you're doing for those young techs, whether they're with you for the long time or they're on to Tesla.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys for having me on. Maybe we can further this conversation, at another time, and hopefully with a better feed or whatever, better computer, whatever it takes to make it work better. So thank you guys.
Yeah, Jay, you want to take us out?
Well, gentlemen, if you don't have anything for me, I no longer have anything for you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Way the Technician podcast, starring our wonderful guest, Wayne Bridges. Thank you very much for having us here. Well, thank you very much for being here. We've had you here. My apologies on that. It's the Wi-Fi. I'm going to blame it on the Wi-Fi. But ladies and gentlemen, see y'all next time.